Conflict. What is it? It is a word. A word points to something other than itself. What does the word conflict point to? It is a state of mind of opposition, at the very least. Conflict may act from a state of mind, but the actual state of conflict has roots in psychological energies of opposition. The smallest of our conflicts may be found in a couple's disagreement about where to eat dinner, or even within the mind of one individual. Conflict may abound. Any person alive today may be caught up in innumerable worries, fears, anxieties, and depression. These are all words which point to a conflict within the structure and continuing nature of what we look at as an individual psyche. How many children today have been raised on a diet of conflict? How many children have been beaten and abused? Conflict leads to conflict. Our environments are conflicted. If you are 20 years old today, and you were unfortunate enough to have been born in Afghanistan, conflict has been your entire life. The war may have ended. The conflict has not. Our inner concerns and psychological divisions are the very root area from which all of our conflicts grow. But our world stage is where they flower in the magnificent periodic action of war. Our nuclear bombs are our largest and most fearful of signs that our very way is a way of oppositional conflict. There is little any of us can do to impact a conflict once it has reached the levels of millions or billions of us even being vaporized by an atomic blast. But we can surely impact conflict at the level of our own human psychological state. We can begin to change our world by changing what we are. Leave the greater world alone. It will begin to change itself once we do. If we can investigate, come to understand, and bring an end to conflict within and between ourselves, in our microcosm of this cosmic dance, we are bringing into a totally conflicted world a new element of peace. Our pursuit into changing this world begins with observing what we are. And what do we begin to see when we begin to observe what we are? Do we not see words and images in constant movement? Look closer, we will see more. Who is looking? Is the observer to the mind of the same quality as the mind? You likely have an unquestioned ideology about how you function within. Have you ever painstakingly taken the time to contrast the ideology you carry with what you see when you actually observe the operational structure of what you call your thinking mind? Activity such as this can begin to affect life changes. Conflict is found in opposition. Externally, we oppose each other because we have each been educated and conditioned into a traditional approach of viewing our lives. The largest of these divisions between us will be found within the ideologies of nationality, religion, and wealth today. But each of these has its roots in a memorized and cherished traditionally educated psychological state. The roots of all of our conflicts inner and outer, will come to be found within our little chattering brains. Meaning, each of us need accept our level of responsibility for every war which comes along. As war is the penultimate flowering of our inward violence, each of us, living today within daily unquestioned and therefore non-understood psychological battles, is contributing towards war. If we can resolve this pattern of conflict within and between ourselves, even at a micro-world level, we can solve it at a macro-universal level. Learning about conflict is intelligent in a world bedevilled by conflict, and learning begins by watching. Where would one begin to watch to learn about conflict? Are you kidding me? Could there ever be anything easier to see? Is it not conflict to let a child die in a world of no lack, out of luck? Is it not conflict to bomb another nation into submission? Is it conflict to beat, slap, punch, kick, cajole, pressure, seek to influence or change the view of another? Are our governments conflicted against their own people? Are our governments conflicted against each other? Are our religions in conflict? Is conflict to be found within any system of hierarchical authority? Is there conflict in ambition? Is the nature of pursuing success a conflicted action? Is conflict to be found within our relationships? Is there conflict inherently operating within the human psyche? Children used to be beaten at school by teachers and at home by parents. This is conflict. Parents beating children is conflict. Bullies, arguments, social divides, struggles, battles, and wars, all of them conflict. But some movements of conflict are more elusive to call to view than others, particularly inner movements, the movements from where all other conflicts begin. Conflicts are found within the very act of opposition. To oppose is to conflict. One needs two sides to successfully reach a conflicted state, and the two sides need be in oppositional stance against each other. How then is it even possible for one mind to reach an inner state of battle and conflict within itself? We might explore this issue in words, or you might begin to question what you see inside yourself in this inner chattering and constant movement of words and images. These words and images will have no transformative effect to your life at all, ever. Words are words, pointers to other things. What transforms a human life is vision. Vision will be found when what the words point to is walked towards and inevitably reached. Do you ever run away from, suppress, or seek to change anything you see in the field of your thinking? Do you ever suffer psychologically? Do you carry a sense of hurt inside, of any description? Do you suffer repetitive images which disturb an otherwise seemingly harmonious psychological state? Do you live in sufferance of a life changed by life itself? Are you carrying a serious illness you never used to, and are living in the suffering which the memory of a life now gone must inevitably bring? Has a loved and cherished one left your side, and you now find your daily life full of anguish, pain, and loneliness? There is division within you, and division within you leads your life into conflict, and conflict always leads us to suffering. Whether it affects millions of human beings or only one, the action of opposition, which is the essential component for conflict to exist, this dualistic state of demonic oppositional brutality, is the very root of all, which makes our lives a living hell. Being involved in a state of opposition to anything you see within your psyche is to be opposed to it, and to be opposed to anything you see inwardly is to live with a divided mind. 2 is the required number for any opposition. The mind of humanity certainly conflicts, yet it remains 1. We may end up wiping the memory of the entire human race from the entire depths of time and space of this universal movement. And if we do, this will happen because we live in this divisive and conflicted pattern of life. And yet, the conflicted elements of danger between us were only ever psychological in nature. The absolute, unquestioned, and so unestablished truth regarding humanity is that actually, factually, truthfully, we are one. We divide, it is true. One may divide itself countless times. In its totality, it remains one. Can you watch a battle without becoming involved? This is the key to being able to successfully navigate at all the inner, uncharted mind of human consciousness, the traditional inner movements of the human divided brain. Can you watch, but without becoming involved? Within the inner functioning of what we call our mind is a division: thinker and thought. Both thinker and thought will be found within the movement of thought. But one must look to see and establish this as a fact. Our mistake has been to establish an identity of continuity, established on the given name, taken, unquestioningly, to be a continuous movement within our psychological structure of a named identity, existing from birth to death, and perhaps beyond. No such thing exists. There are clues which can help in any investigation. Do you ever awaken conscious that thinking is operating? Interesting. You think when you sleep. The same voice, the same talking. Dreams come along too. More images. This data crunching center of protective and isolating knowledge within us is the only thing we need to understand. To understand this, we need bring our attention to it. If one is suffering inside, it is difficult, on first approach, to move towards a battle. If you are experiencing any type of confusion, mental duress, hurt, pains, or anxieties, it will be difficult for you to begin to even approach your thinking consciousness. No one relishes entering a place of deep suffering. Yet this is a form of higher masochism. This approach, as unintuitive as it seems, is an approach of healing. A divided mind can cease to war against itself. If this interests you at all, prick up those ears and follow these words into action. Listening is the key. Listening is God. When I listen closely, what I am listening to is being revealed. But what is the nature of my listening? This is most important. My listening must be absolutely silent. I cannot be telling this inner issue about this inner issue. I cannot be analysing, judging, seeking, defending, running away from or suppressing. Every movement from the side of the observer of my inner workings must completely cease. When all my energy is given over to the action of listening, a miracle may take place. I may come to see my whole mind. I may come to see that what I previously had thought was structure in a certain manner is actually another structure than I expected to see. And such contrasting vision, such clear, unobstructed vision, is undeniable. When the truth of what you are has been seen in totality, the lie of what you thought you were no longer holds any sufferance over your heart. The truth, found in your unadulterated vision, will deny the lie which came before.